Hi, everybody. I have a couple of minutes before episode of Everybody Loves Raymond, a reunion special is going to start. So, I wanted to do a review of the movie What Women Want with Mel Gibson and Helen Hunt. So, this was a rewatch for me, which I do sometimes. I did watch this when it originally came out, like maybe a couple months after, but it's a good movie, and I wanted to see if I found it again, and then I wanted to see if it held up after 25 years. Okay, it centers around the story of Mel Gibson's character. They detailed it as a chauvinist man who believes that he's supposed to get the promotion, and so he's flustered, bewildered when the position is given to a woman, Darcy, played by Helen Hunt, and he just can't fathom it at all. Okay, meanwhile, he has a teenage daughter who is 15 years old and has a boyfriend that you, nobody would want you with this guy, okay? He has player energy written all over him and just the whole thing. Like bad boy, player, the thing. So, but he doesn't, her father, Nick, his name is Nick in the movie, Nick and Darcy. Okay, so Nick has not been a father figure for her most of her life, I'd say. And they had a scene in the very beginning where she's talking to her friends at school, and she's like, oh yeah, my dad is like my uncle, like Uncle Nick. Which I don't know if you guys do this too, but sometimes in some families, if your parents are friends with somebody, friends, they might say, oh, you can call him Uncle so and so. It doesn't mean your actual uncle. It means like a family friend. So I took it as she sees her father as more of a friend figure. Also, doesn't mean she hasn't listened to anything he has to say because in her mind he has no authority. So yeah, okay. And of course, y'all know the story by now, or you should, that um, Darcy is brought on to bring the company more customers of the like females, right? Okay, so her first presentation is like to tell all the people use a box of products usually geared toward women and say how would you market these. So he goes home and first he tries to be all macho and then he says, okay, I got to do this. So he does all the products at one time. So, so, so as a viewer, we see him put on the makeup, and there's a lipstick, eye mascara, um, and then hot wax to wax your legs, and then all these things, pantyhose, you know. So okay, you're getting the visual, right? Okay, so what happens is, first of all, he happens to be in all these products when Alex, which is the girl's name, brings over her boyfriend, Cameron, to meet her father for the first time, presumably. And he's freaked out by it, sort of. Well, I mean, she's freaked out more than the boyfriend. The boyfriend's like, hey, yeah, whatever. But she's like, Dad, how dare you? you know, I'm trying to introduce you to my boyfriend and he thinks you're a freak, kind of a thing. Okay, so then he's in the bathroom, somehow with a hair dryer. There's a bad storm outside, And of course, he has water in the tub because he had to, like, make the hot wax usable. So, you can see it coming. He gets electrocuted slightly. And, well, I mean, he gets knocked out, enough to get knocked out. And then, by the magic of whatever, he has the ability to hear women's thoughts. First, he's freaked out because he tells his best friend and he doesn't believe him. And then he tells other people and they don't believe him either. And then he finally says, okay, you can see him racking his brain, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So then he goes to his therapist, who was the marriage counselor that tried to save the marriage between him and his ex wife. And she said, like, he could read her thoughts and that he's a schmuck, um, and all this stuff. And then they do like a test, and he can read her mind. So she's like, "This is fabulous. You could undo it, but why would you? You could use it to your advantage." So then he does, but in one way, I understand why he did it, but in another way, he took advantage of the situation in a bad way, and like totally made Darcy, his boss, by the way, look bad. And he lied about it the whole time. Like he never told her what was going on until the very last minute. And he said that because he didn't know how to say it. So then, fast forwarding to like the end of the movie, because they spend a lot of time. Okay, the other shock, which I'll cover briefly here. They fall in love because they spend many a night working on this campaign, and he takes the credit when she came up with the idea for the most part. And he takes the credit, and she doesn't say anything. And then he proceeds to lie to her about the whole thing. So then she says, "Well, you lied to me, so technically I should fire you, and you're fired." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he's kind of like sad for a minute. And then she's like, "What kind of person would I be if I let the man that I love, be out there and with no safety or, whatever." So it's a really nice movie. Oh, and the subplot is there's always a subplot. Okay, the subplot is Judy Greer. Now, it's funny because I watched an interview with her a couple weeks ago, but I had forgotten about it because I watch a lot of stuff. Okay, but she wrote a book about how she's the most used character actor, or like the best friend to everybody. Um, she says all you need to do is be somebody's best friend, and you're in. Because she's got more credits as that than the leading people. It's really funny. So, okay, her character, the subplot is she doesn't think that anyone sees her, and she just wants to be acknowledged and, of course, paid correctly. She wanted to be a copywriter for the company, but Nick, being her boss, said, no, 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 I can't see her right now, giving her excuses. So then she doesn't show up to work. But then she doesn't think anybody's going to notice. So then he does, and he goes into a panic, goes to her house, says, "We do see you, I see you," that thing. "And I know you wanted to be a copywriter for before. Do you still want to do that?" And she's like, "Yeah." So he promised her a job, like a higher job. So um, it proves she is seen and stuff. So it was really cool. But I just forgot that was a subplot of the movie. Um, yeah, so overall, I would say that Unlike some movies I've seen before, this one holds up. Even 25 years later, I still laugh at the same parts that I always laugh at. And okay, some of the jokes are a little bit, but most of the stuff is okay. I would watch it again, so I recommend it. All right, bye everybody.